running it, I think, in a more conservative way. And should Armageddon happen, the city is not going to lose in this.
Okay, well, a lot of examples have been made, like Lincoln, Nebraska, and Sugar Land, Texas. I think very important. I think a very important part of the city that should be considered is that we have I-40 running right through our town.
Certainly.
And it's very clear that all the business is on the west side of town as truckers and tourists pass through Amarillo on their way to some other destination. Yes, downtown was once a very popular venue, but now I think that's moved to I-40, as I know several people have articulated that to me.
Well, we don't want to let declining neighborhoods continue to decline. I have made a personal commitment that I want to see that effort that we start downtown continue in other declining neighborhoods of the city, because if not, we simply turn our back on those places and walk away. We aren't going to plow them under. There's people living there. There's people that we can enhance their experience by developing those places rather than turning our back. And I, for one, will not turn my back on declining neighborhoods with no ability to improve them. Do you know that in San Jacinto, in less than 5 years ago, we actually dug up a wooden water pipe? A wooden water pipe. We have to redevelop areas that are diminishing. We can't turn our back. I can't in good conscience look at those and say we're just going to move to Southwest Amarillo. We also will, we know this from the 5-year plan, we will lower our cost to this city because we already have police and fire coverage downtown. We're already paying for that. If we keep expanding exclusively outside and don't rebuild older parks, we pick up more expenses. And so I think we're being good stewards and we're rebuilding declining neighborhoods. And I think we have to have a vision for that. And I hope that's what people will see that we're proceeding towards.
Well, sir, I'm sure you can agree that replacing water piping is entirely different from building a baseball park in downtown Amarillo.
Well, they're related, because if we don't do something that will generate sales tax, we have no place left to go except on the backs of homeowners, and that's what I don't wish to do.
We could just leave it to private investors to open their own businesses. We could lower regulations in the city. I know things such as signage is very difficult here in Amarillo.
Certainly, but we have tried that for 20 or 30 years.
I don't think we have, sir. I think we've placed more burdens on the business owners.
Well, I would agree that we need to look at some things that can become burdens on business owners, but the best thing we can do to free up business owners to operate and homeowners is to not burden them with more taxes. And so we get that from outside sources that want to spend their money here. And, you know, we could debate that, but certainly you have your views and I have mine. But
thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your questions. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
First off, Mr. Mayor, Brian, I've been here most of my life. I know most of y'all very well, and I'm very disappointed in all of you. I'm a cigar smoker, and I have yet to be invited to a smoke-filled back room to talk about this. And I've been to several meetings. I don't understand what's going on. What I wanted to say was, I'm a member of the world's largest service organization, the Lions, and we just had our international convention in Seattle, Washington. Some 10,000 to 1 million Lions, I get the numbers confused, showed up, and they had a great time. I didn't go.
It's just Seattle.
But they have another function called USA Canada Forum. It's typically attended by about 5,000 people. And they skip those venues, Seattle, the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, the Houston, that are large enough to host the international convention. And they go to places like Winnipeg, Canada. They go to places like Toronto, Ohio. They would come to places like Amarillo, Texas, and believe me, I have tried. I've worked with our Tourist and Visitors Bureau to get them here, and we're the right size. We just don't have the right facilities. So I applaud you in that, and I want to know when the hotel is going to open, because they're booking this USA Canada Forum 5 years out. Of this year?
September 13th.
Okay. So now that we have the date we can shoot for, and
Well, Ryan, we're gonna lose total control. We don't keep you addressing us. And I would refer you to the Convention and Visitors Bureau because they'll be happy to make some.
Well, I just want to say, I think y'all are doing a great job, and
Thank
you've
you.
been very public in how you've gone about this, contrary to popular rumor and belief.
We have gotten overwhelming support from comments, and I appreciate it. But there also needs to be scrutiny. It needs to continue, so we do the right thing for this community. We don't have all the answers. We are trying to get them, and we will process that. But I have enough answers to know exactly how I feel right now and how good I feel about this project going forward. So, any other questions or comments from the audience? Sir, if you give your name and your address.
Absolutely. My name's David Odell. I'm the General Director of Amarillo Opera. We do business on Van Buren Street. I'm sad to say that I'm a Canyon resident, but I'm still a very big active part of the community, I hope. I look forward to sitting down with the developers and the team to talk about the viability of the arts and the plan. I'd like to say that over 30 years in the business of opera and performing arts, I've probably lived in 7 major metropolitan cities. Most of those are probably the biggest progressive towns in the United States. I would consider, San Francisco, New York, Santa Fe, Research Tribal Park area, where I sat down with Jim Goodman in 1997 to talk about the development of the American Tobacco Campus. That project, took 13 years to fully develop. It was driven by by Jim Goodman owning the American Tobacco Campus. So that was the stimulus that basically led that program. Recently, I moved directly from Madison, Wisconsin, where they did a similar project.
Which town in Wisconsin? I didn't understand.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison.
Yeah, state capital. Very vibrant downtown already. A major push about 2004 to revitalize downtown Madison, which was already pretty vital. I am totally in support of all of the project, but I do want to raise a little flag now and then. Downtown Madison now has hundreds of very expensive condominiums that are sitting empty, and the sale of the existing residents in downtown Madison have moved from very expensive homes in the surrounding community. So in Madison, Wisconsin, I'm not sure, this all came down, about 2008. I'm not sure that Madison, Wisconsin saw a net gain in the revitalization efforts of downtown. Still, I'm very supportive of this.
We're getting close to the end of your time.
I know, and I'm most concerned, though, about the viability of the arts in both of these communities. I know that the opera companies in both of the communities have had to cancel performances. Local arts organizations. The new venues have drawn, I would say, major, if I can have just 10 seconds more. They've drawn major acts from outside of the community, but I'm not sure that they've really done anything for the local arts community. So I look forward to continuing the discussion. I will say, as far as transparency, though, the resident companies of the Globe News Centers meet on a regular basis as recently as the 19th of last month. And as far as I knew, this was the first time I saw a funding plan this week.
Well, the funding plan has been taking shape, and it's at the final stages. But I would ask you a question about Madison.
Sure.
Isn't that where they had the riots and
It
there was $12
absolutely
million worth of repair work because of the public policy the state had
Absolutely.
that was not very efficient?
It was.
Our ratings are much better than
I'm with you on this,
Our
Mr.
pursuit of
Mayor.
this project is going to be much more contained and much more metered than
I
theirs
am
have
with
been.
you 100%.
So I will tell you that I don't like a direct comparison with Madison, Wisconsin in this meeting.
I'm warning you, these are the most progressive, these
But I will
most
tell you,
progressive
too,
areas in the
I'm
world.
excited that you're gonna have a new market to sell the opera to. I think that
Well,
young lady
likewise.
significantly said the story last night. She said, I have performed with the opera. We heard other people that have been involved with it, Keith Grays and others. We have to look for new ways to draw this market together and bind our community and build these things so we don't hurt any of the arts. And we are committed to that. But we also know this. We know that the rates, it's one of your concerns, the rates have not been raised at the Civic Center and they've been artificially low. We are raising it 20% and I'm proudly doing that because I think we have something to sell. And we'll do it again next year, 20%. But the fact is that we have something to sell. And we have a vibrant way. Think about this. Where would you be,
Right.
as an arts group, had $31 million not been donated magnanimously from this community? If you were paying off that debt, what would your rent be with the opera?
I would say,
It would be gone.
with all due respect though, that for 4 years, that building project sucked arts money out of the community.
Oh, but look at what we've got. And I went through that when I was
Agreed.
first on the commission because I was
Agreed.
part of the process that helped decide to spend that last bit so we'd stop this continued effort. And I will tell you that I would defend that decision and I would defend that we have held the arts. The community has held the arts in their hand and they will
Absolutely.
continue to. And this community will support it. And the growing community that will retain here of young people is your new audience.
And I would actually favor probably more an increase in our rent than the burden of an additional 10% ticket fee to my constituency when I've already lowered rates in order to draw more people downtown. And so my concern is this is a very delicate balancing act. And this is a very special
Sure.
community that is invested in community, which was the thing that brought me to this community. You know, the fact that Amarillo Opera was committed to building community,
We hope it keeps you here.
all community.
One of the things that was mentioned was the parking, and I know there's concern from some people, but the Globe News Center will retain the operation of the lot to the north, and whatever you do with that is fine. I mean, that's not gonna change. Plus, I think there's a lot of people that would be excited to have the extra activity of the hotel and the walkway and the garage. This will not be a parking garage like anybody's ever seen in Amarillo, Texas before. Retail spots, exciting things to do. Your patrons, when they get out of the opera, will have 10 more things to do than they have today, 15, 20 more things. I think it's an exciting time for us all to grow.
Probably not at 11:30 at night.
Well, you never
I
know.
hope. Good. Thanks.
Things before too, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, things before the performance, you'll be, maybe someday they'll